right, this is the third attempt that I'm making to record this. So John D. Rockefeller, who was the first billionaire in the United States, he had a famous quote called "Competition is a sin," and a lot of the wireless industry, they have basically taken it upon themselves to emulate that emulate that quote by Mr. Rockefeller. And they don't want to compete fairly with you. They don't want you to have a fair, a level playing field. Bottom line. But one of the provisions that is specific to one of the carriers, I'm not going to say their name, but Can You Hear Me Now? Can You Hear Me Now carrier has this provision in their lease called Most Favored Lessee. And they want to have an unfair advantage. They don't want to compete fairly, so they basically um, don't want their lease to be the most expensive in a certain geographic area. And this really goes to if you're a cell tower landlord, like why is this important? Well, if you went to sell your cash flow, you wanted to cash out of it, do a lease buyout. This provision is actually worse than having a right of first refusal provision, and that's why at Tower Genius, when we consult for property owners and landlords, just as instinctively we strike that provision, right? It's not something that you want to have in your lease agreement, because when you're going to sell this thing at some point, I know everybody says, "Oh, I'm never going to sell my cell tower lease," but a lot of you end up selling on. How do we know this? Because we've been doing this for 18 years. So um, the buyers of these cash flows, the most favored lessee provision that Can You Hear Me Now puts into their leases, it's kind of like kryptonite for Superman or Limburger cheese for the average person. It just stinks to high heaven, and they won't touch it. They will not make an offer on a lease that has the most favored lessee provision, and it's risky to them, right? And they don't want to be in a situation where this lease gets retraded, and the rents get lowered because they have this provision. Now, again, I'm not an attorney, right? So maybe you have to ask an attorney about this. But look, is it enforceable? I couldn't really comment on that. But do you want it in your lease? Absolutely not. Same way as a lot of times landlords have to live with the right of first refusal provision, because the carrier will go across the street to your neighbor and offer them a lower lease term rate, etc. But they want that right of first refusal provision in there to protect their steal, right, their investment. You could still sell that cash flow at some point if you wanted to cash out of it, but the offer that you're going to get is not going to be as high of a multiple, right? You'll get less money because the carrier wants to protect their interest. So although I understand that this most favorable lessee provision that Can You Hear Me Now uses is worse than a right of first refusal provision if you plan on selling your cash flow at some point in the future. So if you've got questions about a cell tower lease agreement, even if it's with Can You Hear Me Now or AT&T or T-Mobile or Crown Castle or American Tower or Vertical Bridge, SBA Communications, or any of the other companies doing business out there in the U.S., give us a call at Tower Genius. Our number is 888-313-9750. You can visit us on the web at towergenius.com, fill out a form, and we will be very happy to speak with you. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe. I always forget to ask, but like and subscribe, comment in the video below, and we do our best to answer.